So here we are. Okay, good to see you guys. Thanks for being here on the live stream. Live stream number 56. 56 months in a row. And I don't think I've missed a month. Some of you, I don't think, have missed a month either, which is pretty impressive. And in fact, there were a few months where we had 2. So anyways, live stream number 56. Thanks you guys for being here. Maybe a few quick updates. Well, actually only one update, which is a new thing I'm excited to share for anyone that might be interested. Patreon has finally introduced gift certificates. So now you can gift someone a Patreon subscription. I mean, before, if you wanted to do it, you had to like buy it on your own and use someone else's email address, and it was a whole awkward, kind of illegitimate thing. But now you can just go and buy a gift subscription for anyone for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 to 12 months. So you can buy an annual subscription and get an annual discount, or you can buy just for a month or 2. So anyone out there that is looking for the perfect holiday gift for the Glenn Zaleski fans in their life, or anyone who might just be interested in this kind of jazz piano world, this could be a cool, surprising, niche gift for someone. So keep it in mind. Otherwise, I think it's just business as usual over here. I've got some new videos coming out later this month and next month, and into 2025 as well. But yeah, otherwise I think I'm going to just start playing. I have a few questions that I got in advance as well. And of course, if anyone here has any questions, just feel free to chime in at any time. And I wanted to play a few things to get started. First, I wanted to play this standard that's been on my mind because somebody brought it in at a lesson recently. And I'm sure you all know it. It's called If I Should Lose You. Okay, that was If I Should Lose You, a standard that I've just had on my mind and I really wanted to play. Now I'm going to play one more thing before we open it up a little bit. This is another thing that's been on my mind for a few months actually, and it's right here on my music desk, and it's totally unrelated to what I just played. But actually, someone reached out to me a few months ago. He's a composer and a pianist, and he has a really great YouTube channel. Maybe you have seen it. His name is David Bennett Thomas, and yeah, he's a composer and pianist, and he has this YouTube channel where, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, including his own really cool compositions, and also he has these score analyses of different pieces he's checking out, and transcription analysis too. So, you know, he's into all sorts of things. And he was in touch with me a little bit, and I was checking out his channel, and I came across a score analysis of this really cool piece that I never encountered before. So I have to thank David Bennett Thomas, for exposing this piece to me. And I wanted to check it out myself and play it. And I'll tell you, it's written by Scriabin. It's a Scriabin Prelude. And it's a prelude in B-flat major. Let's see if I can get the opus number. So it's a Scriabin Prelude, opus 17, number 6. And, I mean, in a way, I shouldn't have even told you who wrote it, because I just gave some of the surprise away. Because if I played this for you, you probably wouldn't guess that it was written in 1895. I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to play the ink, and then I'm going to improvise a little bit on the tune, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. So here's Scriabin Prelude, opus 17, number 6. Okay, how about that, right? I love these this old manuscript because I'm just going to show it in the camera. Here's the piece, number 6. And here at the end, well, I don't know how to use the camera. Here at the end, Moscow, 1895. It's like a little note. It's like a little diary entry. And here we are having a conversation with Scriabin more than 100 years later in Brooklyn and wherever else, and Japan and Philadelphia and all over the place. What a fascinating world we live in. So anyways, yeah, that's a Scriabin B-flat prelude, and big thanks to David Bennett Thomas for showing me that piece. Oh, Michael, he's a Philly guy. Yeah, he's a Philly guy. So yeah, he's a fellow East Coaster. Okay, cool. So that's it for what I had in mind to play today. And now I have a few questions here that I'm happy to get started with, but if anyone else here has a question, feel free to type it in the chat right now, and I'll get to it right away. Umi, yes, everything is a sus chord. Yeah, in that piece I just played. So what Umi is referring to is, well, let me just rewind a little bit. Maybe some of you here on Patreon have seen that video where I talk about Barry Harris's 6th diminished scale, and how you can take, for example, an F minor chord and connect it with these E diminished chords. I'm doing a very quick explanation right now. 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5. And in this video I talk about how you're free to use these the 5 chord and the 1 chord. You're free to mix them together. So I can play this, which are F minor notes, and I can play this, which are C7 notes. Now watch this chord. Wow, that sounds like angry, right? I don't know what, it's very tense. But these diminished notes resolve very nicely. Now you're back home.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this video, or have enjoyed any of my YouTube videos over the years, you might enjoy taking a deeper dive at my Patreon page. The core of my Patreon page is the monthly live stream, where I go live from my studio in Brooklyn, play a bit, and take questions. These live streams are also available in audio-only podcast form that you can download and listen to on the go. Occasionally we have guests on these live streams as well. Recent guests have included Cecile McLaurin-Salvant and Melissa Aldana, and more guests will be announced soon. In addition, patrons also have access to the complete masterclass collection, which is an exclusive library of 51 educational videos covering a broad range of topics, including transcription breakdowns, improvisation exercises, and more. This collection also contains the complete Myths in Piano Playing series, as well as PDFs of all of the example material. I also share exclusive performance videos, bootlegs from concerts, outtakes from recordings, and more. I hope you'll consider subscribing. Thank you again for watching. Now, back to the video.
That was a really, really quick explanation of mashing the 5 chord and the 1 chord together, and I talk about it a lot in the Patreon video that I'll link to. But as Umi identified, yeah, Scriabin is doing that all over this piece. Every chord is doing that, so So we have, it's the, so it's E flat minor over B flat, then A7. Now this would be B flat, but the chord written is. So these are like the diminished notes, and these are like, and then the next chord is this, but he goes. So anyways, that was really a quick, almost non-explanation. And of course, you'd have to look at the music in a little bit of detail, but every chord, Scriabin is doing this kind of mashup of 5-chord and 1-chord, or diminished chord and 1 chord. And it has a very dissonant, but also somehow not dissonant effect. The same way you can play this chord and it's like, let's see. You can play this chord and it's unbelievably dissonant, but also it's not far away from something totally beautiful and consonant. This device is one of my favorite of all time, and I use it a lot in my own playing. And I really got a kick out of seeing it in this Scriabin piece. So, Umi, yeah, you're totally right about that. Oh, now, Michael has a question. Hi, Michael. Was your approach to improvising on the Scriabin similar to your chorale approach? Have you spent a lot of time with Bach chorales and improvising on them at all? So actually, I have to confess, I have spent some time with Bach chorales. They are here on this bookshelf somewhere, but I don't know exactly where, and I don't want to spend too much time looking for them. And this is perhaps an indication of how little time I've spent with them, because I can't even find them. So I know that Bach chorales are popular reading material and study material. And a lot of my favorite pianists and people that I admire really like referencing Bach chorales as important study material. So it is good to play that music. But for me, I actually haven't played spent too much time with the Bach chorales, but I can read them pretty well. But I've spent a lot of time with other Bach pieces, piano music. Most of my classical practice now is either Chopin or Bach, not too much outside. This Scriabin is a little bit outside of my normal box, but also it's not such a difficult piece that it's kind of accessible. Some of Scriabin's music is just too difficult. I wouldn't have the ability or time to check it out. But no, I haven't spent too much time on Bach chorales, but maybe you should. So that's just me personally. But how I improvised over this piece, actually, really what I was thinking was I extracted a sort of lead sheet version. I didn't write it out, but as I'm playing, I mean, the piece is sort of a chorale with these little dissonant notes thrown into it. But you can see the chords pretty clearly, E flat minor over B flat, F7 over A, B flat, E flat major 7, A flat, D7, E flat, F7. So I can kind of it's in 6/8. So I can, basically when I was improvising, I was thinking about 6/8 and those chord changes. It wasn't, and generally speaking, there was a flavor, there was a mood that I had in mind. So I was actually I was really in my mind, I had a lead sheet in my mind, and that was my guide for the improvising. The sort of chorale approach that you're referencing, again, there's another video on that here on Patreon, but this is an approach that I really like to use, in my own playing, and I suppose I used it a little bit here, which is, let's say I have a chord like this, B flat. Now each one of these, I can take each note and move it up and down. One thing about this is, maybe the big realization for me was, once I liberated myself from trying to play everything with the legato fingering, then this became a lot easier to access. I mean, of course, I can play this legato, kind of, but if I free myself from that and kind of use the pedal, right now, if you're just listening and not watching, this is all fifth finger. But it doesn't sound like that, I don't think. I'm changing the pedal on each note. So I can have this as a target, and I can kind of wander. So that was a lot of notes in 6/8, but actually, I was thinking about just this one thing as a skeleton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, I ended up with 4. I started with 3. So, I mean, this way of playing, it's not, it's not perfect. It's not like, it probably wouldn't pass a counterpoint test or something like that. But as far as a certain freedom you're afforded playing this way, it's a very useful way to improvise. And I think it might not pass a counterpoint test, but the mood is real, and as a performing pianist, that's kind of what your primary goal is. So yeah, that was kind of how I was improvising over this piece. I mean, essentially, I had a lead sheet. I extracted a sort of melody and chords from this manuscript, which is not so difficult to do because it's pretty straightforward once you learn the notes. And then I improvised it like it was a tune, and then I added some of this maybe chorale-ish texture. So I see there's some other questions here. Oh, Mark has a question. I really like the appoggiaturas you played in the theme, Mrs. Parker of KC. How would you recommend working on that to integrate it into my playing? Now, Mark, I'm going to embarrass myself now, because I'm not exactly sure what you mean by appoggiatura. You mean grace note? Is that appoggiatura? If you're here, you can just type that in the chat. I think appoggiatura means grace note. Oh yeah, yes. Okay, grace note. Sorry, Mark. I'm embarrassed that I didn't know that right away. So. That's the tune, is a blues. And I think on the piano, a lot of times something like this. So if this is the note that is the target, you know, I mean, in a blues, let me rewind actually. So the piano is kind of limited pitch-wise, right? I mean, actually, it's extremely limited pitch-wise. Pitch is not really one of the tools we have for expression. I mean, pitch, intonation, you know, we're subject to these 12 notes. We don't have the potential for anything in between. And even the 12 notes that we have in the octave are not even perfectly in tune. So anyways, pitch-wise, we're limited. But if you think about a blues and someone singing a blues or someone playing a blues on a saxophone, there's a lot of in-between stuff that you can't really play on the piano. Like if someone is, you know, on the piano, you try and approximate it by playing a B-flat chord and then playing a flat third. You know, we would think of that as a blues kind of sound. But even that is not really it. You know, I mean, the piano is not capable of the kind of in the cracks intonation thing that's a big part of what a blues is. You know, you can do it on a guitar, you can do it if you're singing, you can do it on a horn, but piano can't. But I think the piano's desperate attempt at trying to approximate that sound is these appoggiatures that you're talking about, these grace notes. There's a really cool thing that I've been doing, and I got it from Monk. It's a famous Monk device where he would maybe he kind of bends a note on the piano. I mean, of course, it's not possible to really bend a note, but let's say I go like this and I play this. Now, so now it's the piano's desperate attempt to try and do something impossible. I'm trying to bend in between C sharp and D, but you can't. But if you do that, you kind of create some kind of flavor that resembles it. And I think in the melody here, there's a cool thing. I mean, the melody. There's a few cool places. If you're on a B flat chord, this rub between the third and the flat third is a powerful place, and so is this one between the A flat and the A. So you can do the bend, or you can do the any of those appoggiatures, any of those grace notes are an attempt to get in the cracks pitch-wise. You know, like a famous one, like another one that I associate with Monk would be this kind of sixth with a half step. Now, if I play that again, but without the half steps, it doesn't have the same effect as. Even though some of those chords are not really quantifiable, but it's a way to get in the cracks pitch-wise. So I think that's something that I was probably trying to evoke in the melody of Miss Parker of KC. It's kind of there, and at the piano we have to do anything we can to try and get that feeling, because if we just play the notes literally, it can end up sounding a little bit stale maybe. So yeah, that's the purpose, I think. Okay, this is great. Keep the questions coming. I have a few questions here that I'm gonna get to while we're going. My Maciek has a question, and this is a rhythmic question. Let's see. This is a question about, there's this Arihonic exercise that I love, and I've done it here on these live streams before, and I've done it in almost every private lesson I've ever taught at some point over the course of lessons, and I practice it all the time myself. And as I've learned this exercise, it's completely transformed my playing. I wish I had learned it even sooner. And there's a video about this exercise on my Patreon page, and Maciek had a question about that video. And the exercise is basically tapping subdivisions and counting rhythms. So I'm going to show the exercise, I think. Oh. Here I go. Sorry, I have some new technology here that I'm messing with. There we go. That's my iPad. Okay. So let's say we have like 4/4, for example. Oops. I'll make this bigger so you all can see it. So if we're in 4/4, there's 4 eighth notes in a measure. And to start with this exercise, you tap these subdivisions on your knees or on your chest or somewhere. I'll do my knees for now. And you start just by, I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'll do it kind of swung eighth notes, which of course is a whole other conversation. But for now, I'll just do swung eighth notes in 4/4. 1, and I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you've never done that before, I'd recommend it. In the video, and this is Maciek's question, in the video I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Maciek, your question, yeah, I'm counting halftime. In the video, I just go straight to counting halftime. I don't know if I explained that or not. I thought I did, but apparently I didn't. So this is because usually if something is written in 4/4, often it's advantageous to think of it in halftime, or even less than halftime. It's helpful to think of bigger beats instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You might want to think 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Even counting and tapping, I'm less exhausted when I'm counting in halftime instead of full time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If the tempo gets really fast, you could think even slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so yeah, Maciek, I'm counting in halftime in the video. That's your question. Now, while I'm doing this, the next step in the exercise is you can put different accents in different places. The first accent I'm going to do, I'm going to demonstrate this kind of red garland left hand accent. Which would be this pattern that maybe you've heard before, which is and of 2, and of 4. Oops. Yeah, so there it is notated in regular notation. Yeah, here I go. So this is what it would sound like with all the subdivisions. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And what you might want to notice here if you start on the right side, then all of the upbeats are going to be on your left side, which is really helpful when you're feeling and counting upbeats in general. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I'm not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I could 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now instead of counting, maybe I'll sing the melody of If I Should Lose You. So boo ba. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Boo da ba doo da. Boo ba ba doo da. Boo ba ba doo da. Boo ba ba doo da. Boo da 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 da. Right. Now, maybe instead of accenting, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to clap. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Boo ba ba doo da. Boo ba ba doo da da. Boo ba ba doo da. Boo ba ba doo ba da. Yeah. Now maybe instead of clapping, I'll play a chord on the piano. But you're always hearing this. 3. And feeling it. So what this does is now you're not thinking about rhythm, you're actually feeling it. You're actually generating it with something specific. So, do ba ba do da, boo ba ba do ba da, boo ba ba do da, boo ba ba do ba da, boo ba ba do ba do ba da, boo ba ba da, boo ba 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 da, boo da do da. Now instead of singing, I'll sing and play at the same time. Does that make sense? It should be like playing it on the piano or playing it away from the piano are almost the same thing. And I can say for sure, if you can't do that away from the piano, just tapping and singing, then for sure there's no way it's going to come out of the piano. So this exercise is really, really important. I mean, this really gets you embodying the music. I think there's more than one way to do this, but this is one really good way to do it. And I still practice this. I do this, if you mean, whenever I'm learning new music, and especially if I'm working out something that's in kind of an odd meter. Although it doesn't have to be just odd meter stuff. It could be really, yeah, it doesn't have to be just odd meter stuff. It could be really embodying any rhythm. So yeah, that's a bit about that exercise. I'm sure I'll talk about it again in some capacity here, and I would encourage you all to watch this video. I mean, I love this exercise. It really gets you right to the core of the music. And yeah, Matt, check to your question. Yeah, when I do this, I tend to think about bigger beats. I think most musicians, when they play in 4, even if it's written in 4/4, 4 quarter notes, they tend to just automatically make it a longer beat. Just, just because that's easier to feel. You get a little tongue-tied if you're counting every beat. Oh, Matt. Hey, Matt. Matt is here. Okay, I have one more question. And yeah, this is a question from Ama Okoro. The question is, and actually we talked about this a little bit in a message, but I think it's a good question for here too. I have a question about the process of memorizing voicings in solo piano. How useful is it to memorize a particular voicing for a certain chord? For any given tune, you have to harmonize a different melody note with the same chord. Okay, I'm going to rephrase, I'm going to word that differently. And also, should I memorize voicings for all possible melody notes? A really important question, and something that we all have to deal with as pianists. And actually, I have another video for those of you that are interested. I have a video on my Patreon page that's called Creating Voicings. And creating voicings really deals with how to create voicings in a spontaneous way. And it shows a process that I think is super useful. So about memorizing voicings, yeah, you do have to memorize voicings. At some point in your life when you're learning to play a tune, you have to memorize voicings. So if you're trying to play If I Should Lose You and you're trying to comp, at one point you have to learn. At some point you do have to memorize voicings. But what you find is if you memorize this voicing, unless you're playing a song that goes, unless you're playing a tune where the melody is, then that voicing doesn't have that much practical use. So there has to be a way to understand the sound of this voice, understand the sound of that harmony, but use it in different melodies. So what I would say is that at a point, memorizing voicings is good, but at a point, you really need to memorize melodies of tunes. Because the melodies are going to be the thing that guide your voicings. Because again, this voicing is this melody. I mean, it's impossible to play a chord on the piano and have it not be a melody, right? If I go like this, then this is kind of the melody. I mean, 90% of the time, the top note's the melody, excepting, specialized stuff. So this is the melody. This is the melody. So if you're trying to play a tune and you don't really know the melody, it's going to be really hard to come up with the voicings. Then I would say when it comes time to come up with a voicing, what we have to do is take If I Should Lose You. In a very basic sense, and this is what I talk about in the video, you have to know the melody, and then you have to know the scale that goes with that melody. All right, so I'm going to put, this is a G minor, and I'm going to say that this is the scale. So that's the scale, and we can actually use notes from that scale pretty freely. So if I pick this note, the first note you pick is the top, then I'm going to pick a bottom note. So how about this? Wow, it's going to be off. Now I'm going to fill in notes from the scale. It could be a few notes, it could be a lot of notes. See, I just played 5 different chords for G minor 7, G minor major 7. But they kind of all sound similar because this is the outside. So now if I take the chord and maybe you don't play it all at once, but I can kind of. Now I'm going to do D7. So for D7 I'm going to do. And again I'm going to pick a bottom note and I'm going to fill it in. So I know that was kind of fast too. I hope that made a little bit of sense. But you see, from the melody is where the voicing comes from. So that can really help you when you're playing. Pick a melody, then pick a bottom note. And you'll be surprised at how many things work. I don't think just anything works. But you'd be surprised how many things work. So it might help. And I mentioned this in the video too. It might help to have a notebook where you go, okay, G minor with A in the melody and E in the bottom. And I want to pick different 3 notes in the middle. How does this sound? Okay. How does this sound? Sounds good. How does this sound? Good. How does this sound? How does this sound? How does this sound? 4 notes. So those all sound good. Now what about this? That's in the scale too, but that doesn't count as G minor because there's no third in it, But if I do the chorale thing that I mentioned earlier, that still doesn't sound good. Like if you don't like the way this sounds, you can wiggle around until you get to a nice sounding chord. So, and I think when you're harmonizing a melody, you're doing this like really quickly, just kind of like lightning quickly. So to do this, memorizing voicings doesn't really help, but you have to memorize melodies and you have to really know your scales, of course, up and down. I mean, I do spend a decent amount of time on here talking about things to improvise with other than scales, but to be clear, you do have to really, really know your scales. I mean, that goes without saying. So, anyways, check that video. It's called Creating Voicings, and it really elaborates on what I just showed you. And this can get you thinking more about scale. Rather than use the word scale, I'm going to use the word color. Right? I'll think of that as a color. So really the way to come up with voicings, rather than memorizing voicings, you really have to know melodies and you really have to know colors. And that's what you're working with. It's nice to use the word color instead of the word scale, right? The word scale sounds so clinical. It sounds so academic. But when you say color, just putting that word, like what if I said, that's not a D scale, it's this color. If I just use the word color, what if I said, it's not a D scale, it's D color. Doesn't it just sound better? Maybe we should just replace the word scale with the word color, and then our whole approach to music will be much healthier. Okay, there's a few questions. Oh, Matt. Hey, Matt. Ooh. I've been trying to work on getting more right and left hand independence, especially when soloing, kind of like how ELEW does in his Counterbop, or how Meldau can do counterlines. Any things you'd like to do to work on this? Matt, that's a great question. And thank you for being here. Wow. I don't know. If you guys haven't seen, ELEW, Eric Lewis is just the most outrageous pianist. I mean, technically the things that Eric Lewis gets out of the piano are just completely mind-blowing. It's really, really something. So if you haven't checked out his stuff, it's really, you really got to check it out. And he has some like things that he's trademarked. One of them is this Counterbop, where he'll play rhythm changes or play he'll play giant steps or play rhythm changes, and he'll kind of improvise eighth note lines in each hand at the same time, and it's pretty remarkable. So I don't actually know what to say in terms of like how to make that happen. I can just come up with a few ideas right now, as I don't really know how to do that myself. But I think there's some of it that's just this kind of energy. Well, one thing that I like to do for hand independence, and I've mentioned this before, is I like to come up with a left hand part and keep it the same. So like if I keep the left hand the same and then try and improvise freely with my right hand over it, that really helps without having to like play crazy lines in each hand. But even if I came up with something like, say I'm going to play G minor. I want to be sure I can do this. This has to have like a mind of its own, kind of on autopilot. And I want to be sure I can play all this. Play all the different parts of the beat. Maybe play make sure that really helps with hand independence. I suppose, what if instead of playing this in my left hand, instead of playing that, what if I played I think that's really good for hand independence. Now, but interestingly, in both those cases, one hand, I wasn't improvising, of course, I wasn't improvising in both hands at the same time. So whether the left hand was playing this, which is a short phrase, or that's a long phrase, but it still is set, And if one hand is set and is really secure, then I think in an ideal sense, the other hand should be able to play anything over it, right? I don't want to be obnoxious, but for example, that kind of freedom. Even if you can like talk can I do it? Even if you can like talk while you're playing this and still hear, I can't do it. But if you could sort of talk and still keep the time going. I don't know exactly how Eric Lewis really does it. I have another idea that I'm kind of thinking about. Like if I went like this in my left hand, just like the energy of an eighth note. Okay, so if I get that going, maybe if I can keep this energy going. For example, but now if I start, instead of just playing two notes, if I play I don't know, something like that. I don't know if that made sense. Like turning. Maybe a lot of it is just fingering, you know. If I have that energy of the eighth notes and, you know, this kind of engine. It's more about rhythm than notes, maybe, if you were going to play that kind of style. Food for thought. So, anyways, if you haven't checked out the whole Counterbop thing, I highly recommend it. It's pretty shocking. Also, ELEW, he has a solo piano record of Kurt Rosenwinkel tunes that's absolutely incredible. Wow. And also, he does an Art Tatum. So impression is not the right word. It's not really an impression. It's just like this, like. I'm sure you could do it on any tune. But if you get to hear Eric Lewis play Too Marvelous for Words, he sounds like Art Tatum. It's just totally insane. Yeah. So anyways, thanks for that question, Matt. That's a lot to think about. Okay. Oh, Keegan is here. Hey, Keegan. Okay, and there's one more question here. A question from Umi. When you are playing a melody with rootless voicing in both hands, how do you assign the number of the notes to both hands? Can you tell us your thought? Ooh. Actually, Umi, I don't know what to say. Let's see. I'm going to do this. Umi, I don't really have an answer to that question. I don't really have a system. I think a lot of it is just what's convenient to play on the piano, fingering-wise, piano, keyboard-wise. I think there's a convenience factor at play. But in for example, what I just played, I wasn't really imposing any rules about each hand. I think it doesn't really matter how many notes each hand is playing. I think what matters is the total shape and balance of the chord. So like if you want to play this chord, it doesn't matter if you play 4 notes in your right hand and 1 in your left hand, 2 in your left, 3 in your right, 3 in your left, So I could play this, and you know, it sounds this. You couldn't, if you're just listening, you wouldn't be able to see that. But I played this chord with 3 different hand distributions, and you know, it sounds the same. So I think if you want to hear this, it doesn't matter what finger you play it with. And I definitely don't really have a system for like how many notes I would play in each hand. But that's a good question. Thank you for thinking of that. I wish I had something more insightful to say. Probably some other people do. So yeah, anyways, hey, this was a lot of fun today. Thank you for being here. I'm going to post links. So what we talked about, the Barry Harris video, the Ari Honig video, the Creating Voicings video. I'm going to put links to all that in case you haven't. I mean, most of you guys have probably seen that stuff before, but if you haven't, if you're a newcomer, I'll post links to those videos so you can check them out. I elaborate in more detail in the videos. And, and the chorale video. I'll put links to all that stuff in the description. And otherwise, I'll see you next month. All right. Bye, guys.